Here we go. Okay, I think we're all set. Hello, hello. I hope you've been enjoying time off, time to yourself, time with people you want to spend time with. I am too human rightsy to pretend that it was a lovely gathering between the indigenous and pilgrims, or separatists, really. So I'm just going to wish that you are having just lovely moments wherever you can get them, and that when you're watching this, it finds you well and nervous system regulated and happy and satiated. Today felt like Saturday all day. Hey, CTX Scavenger. Pretty sure that's James. Yeah. Today I kept having panic attacks that it was Saturday and that I was screwing up my schedule all day long. It did feel like a Saturday. You're not wrong. Okay, I'm gonna pop out the chat and hop on over to the other. I've got like this whole big setup. I took a picture actually so you guys can all see later because I'm not streaming straight through. There we go. That should do it. Did everyone in the live chat, did you all have a nice day yesterday? Anybody else feel like it should have been Saturday all day today? I'm just getting my notes up in my Google Docs. There we go. It's a whole command center now. All right, and then let's get that. It's going to be interesting trying to keep the chat going back and forth. Yes, good. Good, good. Spent most of it with your daughter. Okay, so I decided since we had an extra weekend in the month of November that I would just make this public. So it won't just be our lovely members, but I thought it would also be a nice sneak peek in not just what I offer in membership, but gosh, the vibe, the crew, the community. You know, sometimes we get online lately and it's just so contentious, and you could kind of hop into somebody's live stream or just hop on anything and expect someone's going to have something, you know, nasty or unkind to say. That does not go on here. So if you wanted to come in, it really, I don't like saying good vibes only because that's toxic positivity and I hate that bullshit. We are not about that here. We are very real. There's a lot of dark humor. These people are very funny. So I just thought I would give you a sneak peek. If you're coming by, please rewatch with the chat. I make sure the chat replay is always on just for that reason. Okay, down to brass tacks. What we are here for is the Sagittarius new moon. And I gotta tell you, this new moon is really interesting. And you're probably like, Susie, you say that about every moon. But what I want to say is that it's very interesting because we have a new moon, which is lovely. And then we have a new moon that's ruled by Jupiter. Double lovely. You know, I wore a little brighter. I wore my earrings today and I have my Sagittarius outfit on and I have my Sagittarius lip gloss on. Probably never going to catch me in red. Probably never. Or hot bright pink. But But, you know, Sagittarius is bright. It's expansive. It is boisterous. If you know anybody with a Sag rising, they probably have a great laugh or a big laugh. Even if you don't like it, it's a big laugh, right? But my wonderful friend Vita is Jupiter rising, and her laugh is kind of famous. It's so big and it's so infectious, right? But these are Sagittarius is also, and Jupiter is also, when you meet somebody like that, they are often looking to expand. They are philosophical nomads wherever they can get it, whether that is, you know, actual traveling, or wherever they are geographically. Say, you know, you feel a little tethered to your geographical spot. Somebody who has strong Sagittarius or ninth house placements might go out of their way to find people from other cultures where they're at, where they feel tethered if they can't travel or it's just not opportune at the moment. They will seek a book. They will seek, you know, watching a documentary. It's expansion at all times. And so, and sometimes that's through music, but when we are talking about a Sagittarius new moon, again, we have a new moon, new starts. You know, again, it's the darkest phase of the moon. It's so close to the sun that there's not enough reflection, because while they're both luminaries, the illumination that comes from the moon is from the sun, right? So when it's across, we get that big, bright, full moon. So it's darkest in the new moon. But we've just closed cycles. We're ready. It's time. And then Jupiter wants to expand. The funny thing is that we have the ruler of this new moon in an opposition with Mercury. So we have Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius also, but it's opposing Jupiter in Gemini, and it's opposite sign. It's a lot of opposition here. There's a lot of tension. And on top of that, if you've been, I don't know, living, breathing, using technology in any way, you're probably aware that it's Mercury retrograde, because it's been, you know. I literally sent the email for the link to go from this screen to being able to share the astrological software on another laptop. And I had to wait 6 minutes and send it twice. And the computers are literally next to each other, right? Mercury in retrograde is retrograding. Gatorade's in the microwave. But when you have Mercury in retrograde in Jupiter, we have a mutual reception here. We have the Mercury in Jupiter sign of Sag, and we have Jupiter in Mercury sign of Gemini. So while there's mutual reception and they might understand each other to some degree, while they are creating tension still. And that tension is going to be felt in different parts of your life depending on where this falls in your chart. I hope you know where it falls in your chart. If you need help with that, if you have no idea, you might just know that you're like a Scorpio with a Capricorn moon, or you might know that, you know, you were born around the morning, or if you've never kind of put your birth time into a chart generator, if I have them, but if you don't want to wait, mine come with cheat sheets. But again, if you just want to watch this video and know, you can use astro.com. That's kind of my favorite, and it'll give you kind of exact degrees. There's also quite a few other if you just look for a free chart generator. But we are looking at this new moon at 9 degrees and 33 minutes of Sagittarius. It's not conjunct. It's not kind of holding hands with the Mercury that's in retrograde, but they're all in the same, Mercury is in the same sign as the new moon. And then when we go look for that ruler, it's an opposition, and both in retrograde. That's what makes it interesting. On top of that, there is a trine It's an application of Mars to this new moon, the Mars in Leo, that's getting ready to station to go retrograde in 7 days, in a week. December 6th, Mars goes retrograde. And it's at 5 degrees now, and it completely stations and goes retrograde at 6 degrees. And it's at the time of the new moon, it is 5 degrees and 57 minutes. So it is slowed down as much as it can get before it stations, which kind of means stop. So we have a lot of retrograde, a lot of rethinking, a lot of restructuring, a lot of, when Jupiter's in retrograde, we can revisit an opportunity that didn't look good to us before. We can revisit missed opportunities. We can get missed opportunities, offered to us. When Mercury is in retrograde, we know that is a good time for rethinking, restructuring. You might be going over old texts or old emails or going through your head with old conversations. It also just kind of like, there's traffic issues and computer issues, and sometimes it's out of my mouth issues. However, as a Gemini Mercury, that's like blah, 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 blah all the time. I kind of feel like my mouth does that naturally. It doesn't really need. So for me, Mercury retrograde, as far as how that affects my language, my speech, my ability to be as succinct as I would like to be, it's just a Tuesday. I don't really feel that as much, but we certainly feel it. I feel it all the other ways. I can't tell you how many times one of my kids is like, what's going on with Netflix or what's going on with whatever in the last couple of days, because it'll just be like, nope, we're not doing this. The TV is shutting off. It's saying it's not connected when everything else is working that's clearly connected, right? It's pain in the neck. But when we have Mercury, Mars in retrograde, we have to look at all the themes of Mars, right? So there's all the positive ways to look at Mars, which is energy and our impetus, our drive, our get up and go, what motivates us. And then, yes, it's also, I always tease people conflate how Venus plays out in physical intimacy. And I always say Venus is what attracts. Venus is how you get them to the stadium. And Mars is how you slide into home. So, Mars is also, sometimes it's physical intimacy, right? It's also aggression. It's also, so when we have Mars in retrograde, sometimes it can feel like pent up aggression. It can be verbally abusive or abusive. It can be violent. It's in a fire sign. So we have a new moon where its ruler is in a tense mutual reception, but yet tense opposition with Mercury, both everything in retrograde. And it's trining, which means just unrestricted flow. That trine is, it's the I love you more, let's play, let's do this kind of conversation between those planets. And when that's happening, there's kind of nothing to stop it. There's nothing to block it. It's unrestricted flow of energy. So Mars is kind of feeding that. I will say, I'm very, very happy that Mars isn't any further along, that it's not closer to that 9 degrees. So we still have about 3.5 degrees of separation here. So, it's that's not as strong. What is strong is the square to Saturn. Saturn, that's now direct, right? So Saturn is direct. It's one of the, obviously the luminaries are always direct. They don't go into retrograde. But it's one of the few players that is direct in this chart. Let me share with you. What this looks like as I am talking. It's a lot to take in, so visuals are always helpful. That can go away. We don't need that. There we go. Oh. We don't need that. There we go. Ta-da! See? Mercury in retrograde. I have done this 1,000 times yet. I can do this part in my sleep. But it just was refusing to cooperate. There we are. Okay, so let's look at this as big as possible for you guys. There we go. And let's move her. She's in the way. All right. So we have, and hopefully you'll be able to see. Okay, there we go. Let's move that out of the way. So we have the new moon, Sagittarius, 9 degrees and 33 minutes. Does everybody know where it is in your chart? Again, if you need help, and we are live, Mercury in retrograde, it just went away for no reason. Yeah, it's just gone. So if you need help while we're still live, I'd be happy to help you. Mercury in retrograde is so much fun to do a live stream in. Let's see what we can do here. This usually works. I'm going to take off my shoes. Let's see if that worked. I can't see it. I'm assuming you guys can't see it either. One more time for the cheap seats. I think if I wasn't technologically inclined, I would be annoyed or frantic. I'm sufficiently annoyed. I'm just not frantic. Ta-da! All right. Mercury in retrograde may be represented by the trickster, but, you know, my Mercury's in Gemini, so try me. Okay. I have a shirt that says, try me 24/7. Okay. So, again, we have 9 degrees, 33 minutes in Sagittarius. We go look for the ruler of Sagittarius, of course, is Jupiter. And here it is in a nice opposition with Mercury in retrograde in mutual reception, as I was saying before. Again, I'm actually going to go over what this tension, because, you know, because they're both in retrograde, this is going to last. The opposition's gonna last, and then it's gonna come back and meet again when they come out of retrograde, right? So when they go direct, they will again meet up as an opposition. So I'm actually also gonna go over, because there's a lot going on with this new moon, so I'm gonna go over separately what that opposition and what that tension could mean for you, depending on what houses it's going to be represented by. Because new moon in Jupiter, that could bring a new start, right? That is really expansive and kind of long term, because we have a square to Saturn, right? But also, we have some other things going on where we don't want to kind of rush into how we're going to plan out the new start or the actions that we're going to take right away, because there's some, I don't want to call it a minefield, but there's definitely some bumps in the road on this new path. But again, what we do with Sagittarius, what we do with Jupiter, can expand our worlds. And when it has a strong conversation with Saturn that wants to self-actualize, that wants to put the work in, that wants to make it last, there's great potential. I just want you all to know how to navigate it so you can squeeze all the potential out of that. Okay. One more thing I would like to talk about with this new moon, and I don't want to like overcomplicate things. So we have a new moon in Sagittarius. The ruler is in mutual reception with Mercury in an opposition, both in retrograde. It is also in a trine with Leo, Mars, which is about to station. And go retrograde. So it's slowed almost to a stop. So it's concentrated power. And the way I like to explain that is, if you were ever a kid in someone's pool and you and your friends decided to make like a whirlpool, and you all walked in the same direction, and then the water is just moving in that direction, right? You've got it going. It's centrifugal force. The water is now moving on its own. If you stop to turn around and go the other way, now you have to walk against the force of the water. And that is not visually what's happening. That is not a representation, but it energetically is what it feels. So it's slowing to now go the other way. If you've ever decided you're going to walk until the water was going one way and then you're going to turn around and go the other way, that is kind of what's stationing the energy of it. So it's really intense when it's stationing. Very interesting too. We're doing a learning series, and when we are done with the houses, we're going to do a series on aspects, and I'm really excited to talk about stationing planets, because a lot of times people don't realize they are in their chart, because if there's not a little retrograde, you might not know if it's stationing because it just was retrograde or it's about to go retrograde. So anybody born the 1st, the 2nd, the 4th, the 5th, especially the 4th and the 5th, they have a planet that's stationing right before it's going to go retrograde, and they're not going to know from their natal chart, right? So that's just a little side note. That's one of the fun things we do in membership, is I cannot wait to get into unaspected planets, intercepted houses, intercepted signs. Those are two different things. And when planets are stationing, and how do we find that? Because that's fun in itself. Well, it's fun if you're me and you're a big giant nerd, but I will help you anyhow. So we have an almost stationing Mars, intense, fire signs, intense, trine with an unrestricted flow, all kind of intense. And it's an application of that energy, which means it feels like something building, feels like something's coming. We're not sure what that is yet. So we have all of that going on. And then we have this very interesting square to Saturn. And a square is going to present a challenge. And here's the good news. When we have squares in our natal charts, I promise you that those are challenges we have the tools to meet eventually. We can refine the tools to meet the challenges that come in our charts. I have a lot of squares in my chart, and I'm so grateful for them. And I really, I love them now. I didn't love them as much when I was younger. But man, when shit's going sideways, I'm your girl. I do not panic in a crisis because I am a person born of the squares in my chart that has made me somebody I really enjoy being. Especially because I like being helpful to others. And when everybody else is panicking, I kind of get into this ninja focus, right? So, squares in your chart are just representing a challenge that you have the tools somewhere else in your chart to meet. I was listening to Lori Rivers the other day. By the way, she's got free levels of her Patreon. If you're not listening to her global astrology is just insane and accurate. But she was saying there's nothing that's incongruent in a chart, even if something looks kind of like that. Everything is meant, everything has a purpose, everything supports each other. Even if it's a challenge, it's still kind of supporting your growth, right? Your lifetime here. Hi Shauna, hi Mirasela. So when we have a square and a transit, it's a little different, right? It depends on how long that square will last. Now in a new moon, we know the moon moves the fastest, right? In transit, it is, besides like the vertex, it's moving the fastest in transit. And so when it's doing that, that square is not going to last too long, but the energy of the new moon takes on an energy signature, kind of the way that your natal chart takes on an energy signature to you and who you are as a person. So that is still going to create a long lasting. The difference is when you have a square in your natal chart, you got your whole life to fine-tune the tools, to understand the challenges, to rise to meet them, to master them. When we have it in a transit, it can feel a little wham bam thank you ma'am. It's unfamiliar and it sometimes can feel sudden. Now, Saturn is not a quick moving planet. When we have a square to something like, Mars and the moon, or Mercury and the moon, that can really feel wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. So when we have Saturn, it really wants to create this kind of not excruciatingly long challenge, but just this kind of gauntlet laid down. Let's make this last. But that is what the planets want to do for you. Now, let me interpret as it is my job as an astrologer. It may not feel like that. I'm just being honest. It could feel, because I want you to think of Sagittarius energy, right? That is fun. That I got to tell you, I'm not a drinker, but I will dance on a bar. I will get up and do karaoke. I will go right to the middle of the dance floor completely sober, right? And that has a lot to do with some of the different parts of my chart. But the friends that I'm going to go out with that are also going to do that and not need 6 drinks to go to the dance floor or anything else, they're probably going to have some strong 9th house or strong Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius is fun. I always say, each sign has their challenge. Like Scorpio wants intimacy, and they also don't want to let anyone in because they don't trust anyone, right? Like they crave it's possession, obsession. They want the intimacy. If they want you, if they don't want to skin you and wear you like a coat, then they don't want you. and yet, cracking that shell, oof, right? With Sagittarius would rather be fun bubbling on the surface. It would rather be expansive and talking about incredible things. Do not have a conversation about mundane bullshit with a Sagittarius. They don't want it. They don't want to talk about the weather. They don't want to talk about the shoes. They don't want to talk about that stuff, right? But at the same time, don't put them in the middle of a conflict. To actually, not unless they have other aspects in their chart that support debate. right? And if anybody in this chat, which I know some of you do, have a strong Sagittarius placement, like a major Sagittarius placement or a stellium in your ninth house, you may know what I'm talking about. Like, you may feel strongly about things, but like if people start fighting, it's like, I have no opinion about that right now. I do not want to be in the middle of that. It makes me uncomfortable. That has to do normally with Sagittarius' childhood, but that, that is the fun, the challenge in Sagittarian energy. The sweet spot is, how do you not be so anti-conflict, right? That it becomes a bigger problem anyway, because it still exists whether you, like, right? We all know that as grown people. The problems still exist whether you address it or not. So where do we go with that energy? Where's the sweet spot of that? I don't want to talk about the weather. Let's talk about deep stuff, but I don't want to fight about the deep stuff. I just want to talk about it. I want to throw the ideas around. I want to explore the world in an existential way, and mind-boggling way at 3 o'clock in the morning on the kitchen counter, right? Preferably eating food from a place that is not from around here. That being said, Saturn, womp womp. Saturn has a lot of great qualities, right? All of the planets have great qualities. All of the signs have great qualities. I even think all the aspects have great qualities. But Saturn wants its authority, right? And when we're looking, we're looking at the natal chart of the Sagittarius new moon, but when we're looking at planet and transits, these planets are moving. It's not like your natal chart. That's done. That's the way they are for the rest of your life. These planets are in motion. So when we have Saturn here that wants to challenge square and give authority to, and it's all mutable energy. So it's kind of funny. It's like, how do I say this with it? Because I don't want to be reductionary towards any of the mutable signs. I have very strong mutable energy in my chart. I will just say that, Saturn in Pisces, if it was Saturn in any of the other mutable signs, but Saturn in Pisces, it's a little less, it's the good cop of the good cop, bad cop scenario if we're talking about authority in Saturn, right? And then Sagittarius just wants to have fun. So it's kind of like putting kids in charge that don't really want to get that serious about stuff. But Saturn is still asking. It is still going to throw down some kind of challenge. Now, the other thing I'm going to say about mutable energy, and I mean this with love, and I could go on about the other modalities too. With when I find in consultation, I find in practice, and in real life, that Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, but they hide it well, and Pisces all are, any sign can experience anxiety or nerves, but those tend to be influenced by anxiety. And there tends to be room within those placements for anxiety to take hold maybe a little quicker. And it's all real. That is real. If you have anxiety, that is real. It should never be dismissed by anybody else. But the mutable part, right? The less grounded part which we need. We need all of the mutable signs. We need mutable energy. We need the balance of it. But the anxiousness of feeling a little less grounded, but then the square of it and the authority of it. It's just very, very interesting. This moon, I will die on the hill that this is just a very interesting, because when you think you've got it nailed down to one kind of energy or another, there's another aspect to it. And lastly, I'm going to go over the other thing that, again, it's not talking to the moon. Yeah, and you have a Sag moon, right? So when we have, you know, and also that Saturn is squaring not just the new moon, but it's squaring the Mercury as well. And we've already covered, we have a tense opposition as the ruler of this new moon, albeit in mutual reception, also both in retrograde. And now we have this kind of weird, don't really want to be in charge, but I'm in charge because I'm Saturn with Sagittarius, which does not want to be told what to do. When somebody else tells Sagittarius to get off the bar, they're going to laugh at them. No, we're not getting off the bar. We're having fun. Go away. Stop telling me about rules. And then here comes the planet of rules. Hi, Michael. So again, this is just a very interesting dynamic. Lastly, it is not connected to the moon, right? However, we also have Uranus and Venus in a trine. And Uranus, of course, is in retrograde. So Venus and Saturn are, the luminaries are always direct, but of all the planets that could be retrograde, the planets that are involved in this lunation, in this chart, in how this is going to feel and express for all of us, Saturn and Venus are the only ones not in retrograde. But we're kind of seeing that now. I don't know if anybody's seen the videos, because there's a lot of boycotting going on. The Amazon workers went on strike. We are within 36 hours now of this new moon. And we definitely saw Venus-Uranus, with Uranus in retrograde this weekend. I'm just going to close that up for a minute. So Walmart, which on Black Friday is usually crazy. I used to worry about my elderly parents going to Walmart because they would go get DVD players for everyone, or whatever they were going to do. Black Friday 20, 30 years ago with a big family made it easy for my parents to just be, my mom and dad were very about like everybody gets even. So they would go, and I used to worry about them because it would be a mob scene. It would literally be unsafe. It was very slow in most of the Walmarts today. Amazon had a strike. We are already seeing absolutely solidarity. I'm not somebody to shy away. I don't have a chart that makes me stick my head in. In fact, I'm annoyingly going to talk about things. I can't ignore the elephant in the room. Never have been able to. Doesn't make me miss popularity all the time. It's who I am, and it's who I'm supposed to be. If you go look at my chart, even if you go look at the numerology of my birthday and my name, it screams, does not ignore elephant in the room. There was a very, very disgusting display at a Walmart. Not all Walmarts, but it mimicked horrible, cruel practices when slavery was still legal in this country, and horrible, cruel, racist practices. I don't know, wasn't it like a month ago or 2 months ago? A young black man was hung in this country because The racism is so fueled. So when we have things going on like that, and somebody takes clothing displays and hangs them, like bodies hanging from the ceiling, that's not okay, right? There's a lot of reasons to boycott Walmart, but that is very much happening, and we're looking more at small businesses. We're looking more at shopping with mom and pop stores. And it is absolutely affecting the collective's finances. It is absolutely shaking up. That Uranus in Venus is very much trining. Like that, it's just happening simultaneously with the new moon. It's not talking to the new moon. It's not connected to the new moon. Even the Mercury and Venus are, in conjunct and not really having a very strong conversation. It's kind of annoying. And same thing with Jupiter and Uranus. They're in conjunct, and they're 7 degrees apart for outer planets. They're not really that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not supporting any company that is apathetic about racism, homophobia, any of it. And if anyone's interested, or wants a list in companies that donated to people who very out loud were going to legislate against any of those communities, including women, I'm happy to post that list in the community page, or I have it. You can email me and I will give it to you. So we're seeing Uranus, Venus collectively. We're seeing all of this collectively, right? Things are so... I want you to think about how weird shit is right now. If anyone's ever seen Idiocracy, the movie, some of the stuff that's happening is just absolutely surreal, and it doesn't feel real. And the news is reporting on stuff that's just not happening, or it's not happening the way they say it's happening. I'm not talking about conspiracy theories. I'm not talking about like it feels like something's not right. I'm talking about literally, everything just feels kind of off. I'm going to now put that chart back up. Yeah. That, squaring is challenging. Saturn is normally, hey, this is what has to be done. You do it this way, there's rewards. There's consequences either way, right? Either they're punishments or rewards. Saturn gives consequence, doesn't mean the consequence has to be bad, right? But Saturn has a certain energy to it, but it's in Pisces, man. And it's squaring Sagittarius, which is like just wants to be big and expansive and not really have conflict. And so, we have this unfettered trine to Mars in Leo. We have the ruler of this moon in mutual reception, but in a very tense opposition with Mercury, and both in retrograde. And now, and we have Venus and Uranus in a trine. Unrestricted flow of energy of what the fuck? With what does society value? And I think that we show the powers that be. I think we show, because Venus is in Capricorn, we have to show maybe what traditionally what used to be valued, which was, money over people, is not really where we're at. Pluto moved into Aquarius. Yeah, I keep waiting for somebody to just scream it's got electrolytes in some kind of news conference. It's, I mean, now, personally, you could have a fantastic fucking day on December 1st. Personally, this could play out amazingly in your chart. And you don't have to lose any money. It's just that everything has a question mark to it. We have a fiery new moon trining a fiery Mars that's about to station. It's slowed down as slow as it's going to get. I believe, I want to say it's like 6 degrees and 14 minutes where Mars officially goes retrograde in Leo. We're at 5:57. It's going to take that long to move less than 20 minutes. Not degrees. It's only a difference of 20 minutes on the placement of that planet. It's going to take until the 6th, which is a week from now. That's how slow it's moving. It's intense. We have the question mark in Uranus. We have the question mark in the mutual reception and tension of Jupiter, Mercury. So again, Jupiter, wonderful, lovely. New moon, lovely. New moon in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, just bright and opportunistic and wonderful. But we have a lot of question marks. How do we navigate a new path that we know is in the dark because it's the darkest phase of the moon with all of this? And that is what, now that I'm done talking your ears off, because I wanted to take the time to explain why, if you're feeling weird, if the energy feels weird, if you feel like, I know you're saying that and I know you're showing me that, but for some reason, like, I don't think you're untrustworthy, but I just feel like this information isn't what it's supposed to be. There's a lot of that right now, right? I'll give you a small example. For the longest time, against the law, against the Constitution, there was not the transition FBI checks, and along with a few other things, were not being done by one team so that they could be clear on what's going on in the world, having access to important information about everything that the White House and that administration has privy to, because, whoever side won, we want a smooth transition so that we don't have somebody walking in there blind. That's what's supposed to happen. And even now, their conditions are, so government money normally funds the transition, right? That's what happened. Taxpayer money funds the transitions, and therefore there's FBI checks, and therefore there's other rules, including you have to disclose anyone. You have to disclose your monetary benefactors, right? And they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to fund the transition ourselves. And this way we're not going to disclose anything. And they are still protesting the FBI background checks. And yet, that is just what it is. That is what is going on. CBS is like, everything's going great. Smooth transition. They're all set. Everybody's happy. What? I would not be surprised, even though we see video of real people in the Walmarts with the crickets. I would not be surprised if we see, like, greatest. And we know that everybody in Amazon walked out because we literally saw it with our own 2 eyes. If the news just says, like, oh, it was a great Black Friday. Right? It's just been very, like, why is, like, we're not you can't pee on our heads and tell us it's raining anymore, because we all have the phones, and the phones are working. We're all sharing what's going on in our phones on the camera, right? We have real news sources. We listen to NPR, or we listen to journalistic outlets that are still responsible for telling the truth. And if they don't, they have to print or speak, or both, a retraction and say, I am sorry, I got these facts wrong, right? Those are the only, that's why we're not listening to anything that's classified as an entertainment outlet. We're not listening to those people for our news anymore. That's a lot of what's happening here. Jupiter rules marketing. Jupiter rules that ninth house energy, that Sagittarius energy. It rules gregariousness also. And so if we want to market, gregarious news, and we want to market a truth, when Mercury is in retrograde and it's that tension in Jupiter, right? Like, we're seeing that. Actually, the Midas Touch Network just ratings wise went above the Joe Rogan podcast, which no one's been able to do in a really long time. So they actually just beat that out, which is hopeful. Yeah, see, she's typing it as I'm saying it. Which is really hopeful. Aaron Parnas is another person that's just giving you straight news. And yes, they lie on both sides. They exaggerate on both sides. They omit on both sides. So there's a lot of that playing out in the chart. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you want to get the skinny, the lowdown, the details, and the accuracy on mundane astrology and what's going on, go listen to Lori. I want to give you how this is Lori Rivers, because she's just, I don't know anyone that can do what she does, if I'm being honest, in that genre. So I want to start going over what this looks like in your charts. So I don't know if you have a pen and paper ready. You can go back and watch this when you need to. But let's talk about what I'm going to do is we're going to start with Aries. Let's get you up and running here. We're going to do Aries, and we're going to do a bi-wheel. Okay, so this is what, with an Aries rising, of course, it is happening in your ninth house. And you guys all let me know if you understand. So this is an Aries, just random Aries rising chart. And then the outer wheel is the new moon and all of its, let's get this plugged in. I thought we were. Okay. And all of the other transits with it. And just as a reminder, tomorrow at noon, I will be live again. Lord help us. There we go. I will be live again, and I will be taking questions, and I will be doing chart reads, so I can actually pull your chart up with the new moon. But this is what we are looking at now. If this is in your first house, if this is in your ninth house, and you have an Aries rising, or if you're any other rising sign, but 9 degrees and 33 minutes falls in your ninth house. The focus is going to be expanding your horizons either through travel. Like I said, Sagittarius energy is like, nomadic philosophers, nomadic expansion, whether that is done through technology, whether that is done through, meeting and interacting with people. Even if you are tethered to your geographical location, you might, feel the need or want to seek other people from other cultures and other backgrounds where you are. So, like I said, they are nomadic. Sagittarius energy is just nomadic. And it embraces all different kinds of spirituality, practices, and culture, philosophy. It's about that secondary education, and whether you go to a brick and mortar school or an online school and you gain a degree, whether you have a ton of letters behind your name, or you are just explore the world through books, through experiences, through other people, or through travel. It is still that secondary education. It becomes really, really important. Also, sure, study and spiritual pursuits. Uh, you know, and I think that I talked to one of you in here for sure is an Aries rising, and sure, this is definitely playing out in their chart in that kind of ninth house way. But it's wherever 9 degrees is, and like you could be a Pisces rising and it lands in your ninth house also, just because of the rising degree. Also, you could be having the new moon in one house and the Jupiter Mercury opposition in another. Depends on where the cusps for your houses fall. The challenges in this are the Jupiter Mercury opposition, which I will go over more in detail. Complicates balancing the intellectual curiosity with the practical communication. So it wants to have focused communication, and definitely it also wants to have this like expansion, but everything feels like I don't want to like maybe put 10 toes down. I don't want to like stand on business and say this is exactly what I want my focused communication. Or if you don't have that kind of moment to explore it for whatever reason, that Leo Mars could be hitting your chart. You could have other placements that just feel eruptive right now, and it could be something that you may regret later, because that communication could feel very, very focused. And when we're also talking about Sagittarius, we're talking about where Mercury is. We are talking about, our strong belief systems. It's very hard for me not to just go off and take a left turn at Albuquerque and start talking about like how Sagittarius moon charts. I always ask them a question about mom, and it's usually strongly one way or another. But those belief systems are almost like a third parent in the house. That's how strong of a presence they are, one way or the other. When we have a lot of mutable energy too, you could get caught up in like a big idea and then not feel like you have the grounding or the tools to go do it. Now, Saturn's going to help a little bit, even though it's also an immutable. But this is where the impetus of Mars can really kind of assist you. And that is where you're going to find the opportunities in this ninth house, because of that. I don't know why everything is yelling at me. I mean, I do. It's Mercury retrograde. So, and we have, you know, Mars, of course, in Leo is in that fifth house, making that trines, like that impetus to be creative, and also the opportunities. It's going to inspire like a bold exploration, right? And then, you know, for money and love, if you're in this ninth house, if this moon is in your ninth house, you could feel very attracted to somebody who absolutely has a different culture or background, uh, and it could feel romantic because Mars is in that fifth house. It could feel like a lot of sexual tension, and because Mars is getting ready to station and it's moving really slow, I want you to imagine Mars, which, like as I said, Venus may be how you get them to the arena, but Mars is how you slide into home. I want you to imagine Mars, and it's in Leo. Very affectionate, very fiery, very confident, very seductive, and it's moving so slowly. This could be intense chemistry, whether that's online or in person. It could just feel like very intense. Also could feel like creative impetus, right? Financial investments, if you're going to make any right now, especially with the Uranus Venus, it should be in something that goes into your education, into your expansion, into your learning. It doesn't have to be for necessarily a degree or certification, but it should go into enriching your life through the expansion of your mind and your spiritual beliefs, possibly. And you know, you could also get opportunities to travel through your job also if this is your placement. If you are having the Jupiter and Mercury retrograde in that ninth house, I mean, there's a clash of information and truth, right? Expansive thinking and focused communication, and again, question marks with both of them. You know, it could be heightened debates, especially in the ninth and the third house. We're talking about, you know, communication around very strong beliefs. If we're seeing that left and right collective, you could find your way into that. What's very interesting to me is those Sagittarius, Gemini is about that life. That Gemini Jupiter, it will talk about its beliefs. But the Mercury in Sag may, especially in retrograde, may not. So you may find yourself in debates that you have no interest. You feel like I don't, even if I diametrically oppose what you're saying, I just don't. I don't wanna. I have no interest in doing this. You know, we're also going to be careful when we have retrogrades in the third house of travel, Aries rising, and that, you know, we're going to be extra careful in our car. There could be also expansion, polarization in your beliefs. You know, one of the reasons that, as Teresa mentioned, like the Midas touch, or people are finding news sources that don't have as many financial backers. One of the reasons is that after the election in this country, if you look up the Google searches, most people feel, not most people, there are enough people who feel that they were not informed purposely. Not that they're ill-informed, not that they're unintelligent people, but that where they trusted their information to come from left them a little surprised. I'm just saying, if you haven't, go look at just go Google top 5 Google searches the week of November 6th. It's or 7 days after November 6th. It's very interesting. And then immediately upon that, cause and effect, people are coming back from, they're pulling back from sources that they don't feel they can trust anymore. There's a lot of that. And of course, there's going to be a lot of that in that ninth house. In that ninth house. The other tension you could be feeling, really with the Jupiter-Mercury opposition, and especially in the ninth house, is feeling tension between people who have different levels of education. You could feel like there's no way for you to either speak and not come off a certain way because you just have a different level of education or information, or you source your information a different way, and that can cause a tension and an opposition between people and you that you normally would not have. And they could be old friends, they could be people that you have been in your life for a really long time. And that could feel a little disappointing, just gonna say. Let's look at where you're pulling money from. You're pulling money from Venus right now. So again, Aries rising, I would not really be investing in anything that isn't safe and long-term. Now, you know, Aries rising may want to like rush a little bit into things. This is where I'm going to urge you, if you're an Aries rising, if you have a lot of Mars energy, to just take a moment. Don't jump into anything. We're still on Aries rising. You can, however, have surprise offers, like surprise, you're getting a raise. Like, you know, Uranus doesn't have to be bad. It's just that Venus is in Capricorn. So that like unstable, shake everything up energy really doesn't like, you know, Venus is like okay with it. But Capricorn and Taurus would rather not. They would rather you don't sit with them, Uranus. If they could just, as planets, wear shirts that say you can't sit with us to Uranus, I think that they would. I think that Taurus, if we imagine it to be a sentient being, will be very fucking happy when Uranus finally moves into Gemini for the last time and does not come back at all. So I would just be very, very careful. You could get good financial surprises, though. Not gonna lie. Long-term relationships, established relationships, committed relationships. Again, we're dealing with Venus here, and it's really having that heavy conversation with Uranus. So there could be surprises in the relationship, and there could feel like a difference of what we're doing doesn't work for one person or another. And now with Jupiter and Mercury both in retrograde and in opposition, might not be the time. You could have it out, but if you have it out, it might not go well. I would not back off having a serious conversation with an established partner at this moment. Okay, let's look at Taurus rising. There we go. If you are Taurus rising, or make sure everything's good here. I'm like all over my notes. Okay, so if you are Taurus rising, this could be happening in your 8th house. Now, a new moon run by Jupiter in your 8th house, even if Jupiter is in retrograde, this could be a good money thing for you. This could be something that you start. This could be something you somebody else invests in you. Let's not forget that that is other people's money. Now, you know, we talk about it being like death and taxes, the eighth house. It's so reductionary. So when we are talking about the eighth house, other people's money, yeah, it could be the government's money that you have to give them. That could be taxes, sure. But other people's money is also booking clients. Other people's money is also other people investing in you. Other people's money could be you're selling something on TikTok Shop. There's plenty. It's funny because I did not plan for my Taurus rising chart. Like I said, I randomly just was focused on the rising sign and degree. But, you know, this fake person has a Sagittarius moon right there. But, you know, if you're having this eighth house energy, this could be like, shh, we're doing this and we're not talking about it. Something's investing. There's something that could help you also, possibly missed opportunity to help you get out of debt. But right now it's on the low. Nobody needs to know. But while you're on the low and you're not having other people kind of check your work, make sure you have somebody, especially if it's happening in your eighth house, that you trust. That you would trust with your kids, that you would trust with your life, that you would trust with your money. That you would trust with your partner, both naked and inebriated in the backseat of a Ford pickup. That kind of trust, okay? I used to have a friend that said, I would trust Susie. People used to be like, your boyfriend and she get along. And they're like, they're both just assholes. They're both just funny. And they're probably making fun of each other. And I would trust Susie naked in the back of the pickup truck. Both of them after a bottle of Jack. Like, trust somebody like that. That's why that reference was so specific, because it's a real life one. So, and you could trust him like that too. He was just obsessed with his girlfriend, who, by the way, I set them up and they later become husband wife. Every couple I've ever set up it's 20 something years later and they're still together. I've only set up 3, but they have all stayed forever. This happening in your 8th house, you want somebody you trust like that to kind of, especially with Mercury in retrograde right now, especially with Leo. Because, you know, Venus and Mars can both become jealousy. And because it's Leo, Mars, yeah, there could be, you know, some jealousy. It's in the 4th house. This literally could play out, Taurus rising, like you need to move quietly to get out of debt, or to create money to get out of a contentious situation at home or living situation. So there's a lot of kind of around this. Now, if we're looking at the new moon just in the 8th house, there's, you know, also deep emotional, not just financial transformations, but there's deep emotional transformation as well as the possibility for financial, absolutely transformational. Don't see any kind of astrological event in your 8th house and think, oh shit, I'm going to get hit with a bill. I'm going to get hit with somebody wants their money, or, you know, don't think, or you're going to lose money. It does not mean that. You know, it's not April 15th. So there are other ways that other people's money can play out in a really good way. And this could be financial opportunity, transformation, and a missed opportunity. It's also, again, you know, intimacy issues for sure, and beliefs around intimacy issues. Listen, you know, you might have gotten with somebody before you healed something, before you remembered an unfortunate experience. It's like 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 8 girls or something are touched or experience inappropriateness. in a sexual way before they are 17 or 18. That's a lot of people, right? So like we all have stuff to heal. You could have started a relationship before you healed that, and now you've healed that, and the way that you do intimacy has to be transformed. It has to be addressed. And if it can't be transformed with that partner, well, then, you know, that's a conversation that needs to be had. It's also this is a time to address shared finances. And if you don't have trust, right? Because intimacy also means trust. If you don't have trust, then it could be time to be unsharing finances with whoever you're sharing them with. You know, the challenges with that opposition, you know, independence. Again, we're looking at independence or codependence and where that value lies. Again, you could have started a relationship with anyone, a friend, a family member, when you were both very codependent. You could have grown out of the codependency and now value the interdependency more. You know, Saturn square is going to want boundaries on financial entanglements. There's a lot about financial entanglements. Again, doesn't mean bad. You could experience freedom out of this, which Jupiter also really likes expansive. It does not want to be contracted by Saturn. That again, that square, that is the challenge within that Saturn wants to kind of constrict and give boundaries and rules and authority, and Sagittarius is like, not about that life. You do have Mars here, and while I said you could feel some conflict, you know, with Mars here in that fourth house, you know, it still can have transformative effects. That trine in that fourth house. So again, how you do money in the fourth house, and I think a lot of us, if you live in the States especially, but in other places in the world, you know, inflammation is global because the pandemic was global. We could be redoing how, you know, consumerism in our homes. What are we reusing? What do we really need new? What is about what it looks like when somebody comes over and decorate, or what is going to be better for us and the planet, quite frankly. But rethinking. Remember, it's about to station. It's about to retrograde. Rethinking how we spend and how it looks and what motivates us. Hi, Nikki. Also, though, you know, Venus trine Uranus. Venus is in the 10th house. This, if anything is surprise business opportunity that really has to do with career, this might be the placement for that. Also, you know, Uranus is hanging out there in the first house, so that could be careful that you're not being clumsy, especially when you're outside, like, you know, bumpy ground or whatever. Walking around out of people's houses if you're being very social this weekend with a little heel on you and the ground is bumpy, especially if you're up north and it's cold. That's the worst. If you've ever been up north where it's like the ground's kind of cold, it gets bumpy. But be careful when Uranus is in the first house, which is a long-term transit for you, so it's not just about the new moon. You want to be careful because we can tend to be a little bit more clumsy. But there also could be transformation. There also can be emotional breakthroughs for Taurus rising. You know, Mercury is in retrograde. But, you know, Mars is also, things could be contentious at home if you have a long-term partner with Taurus. I don't know that now is the time to fix that. You might want to wait, but you might be very aware of anything that needs to be fixed in partnerships right now. And restructuring debts, shared finances. I just saw a very interesting video saying that because of all of the security breaches that are just seem to be unilaterally, I mean, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. You can call and harass the credit bureau and be like, I'm going to need everything removed because my data was breached. And they kind of have to. And they could tell you, like, well, in this many months. No, they have to do it in like 4 to 6 days. There's ways to restructure debts, let alone shared financing. And that could also help you be long-term stable. So the inconventionality of Pisces could really partner up with Saturn there and create some long-lasting financial changes, because we all know credit score is, you know, it is our modern day value as humans. You know, what we're bought and sold for is our credit scores. Depends on how everything else goes. You know, you could have a pile of cash, and if your credit score is garbage because you have medical debt, or you loved somebody and got into shared finances with somebody that wasn't, you know, didn't turn out to be a good idea, whatever, you know, that credit score kind of haunts you. So there's ways to restructure that and create long-term stability and benefits from that. And also just, you know, muy caliente, you know, if you're single and want to mingle, if you're open, as long as you're not hurting anybody and everybody knows what's going on, there's room for affairs here. Or there's room for, like, you know, more expansive, not traditional ways to experience intimacy. You're all smart. You can read between lines. Let's look at Gemini rising. Okay, Gemini rising with okay, this is happening in your 7th house. So, you know, the focus is on a new chapter, new relationships, personal or professional, honestly. You know, what you need from others might feel clear, but you may not know how to say it. You know, you might feel it very, don't forget, new moons are very internal, right? Because the lights are off. It's all about what our intuition, what we feel, what we know thus far. But how you need that from others, you may need less commitment. You really could be looking at interdependency rather than codependency in that 7th house, which is great. Misunderstandings also could arise due to the Jupiter-Mercury opposition. And again, the square could feel like, you know, how somebody else wants to have rules or boundaries around the relationship. You know, Jupiter's a little bit more free thinking often, and Sagittarius is a little bit more free thinking often. So there could be, and again, I don't know that Jupiter, Mercury, mutual reception, opposition, retrograde, both of them, is the time to have those important conversations. But you could write it down. You could write it down and edit it a million times. You could write the text. You could write the email. You could write the Google Doc. You could write it in a notebook and edit it. take the time to edit it during the rest of the Mercury retrograde. That might be helpful. You know, the square could maybe kind of push the boundaries on the stability of those partnerships, but that doesn't have to be romantic either. The opportunities out of this is like, you know, Mars is in the 3rd house. So it's going to fuel passion. It could be one of those things where you're like not getting along, but there's still kind of heat there, or if somebody is very skilled orator at saying the right things to you to get the knees melted, or however you want, whatever analogy you want to use, to get things a little heated. That Mars in the 3rd house, that could be fighting, and that could be something else that begins with F. Because again, Mars is moving so slow, you know, in Leo, in the 3rd house. Could feel like somebody talking to you very slowly in all the right ways, and you might forget why you're mad. You know, we have Uranus in the 12th house and Venus in the 9th here. So this could be very spiritual, like this could be surprise, you're getting visited from ancestors. You could have more value on secrecy and privacy with that Venus, Capricorn, Venus, Uranus trine. And, you know, shared monies, again, putting value into learning, putting value into traveling, but there could be something that does come up with your basic stability that you were not expecting. This also could be something you're not expecting out of government. You could be planning for a travel and something else happens with all the changes going on. That changes the finances. So again, I would not be spending right now. And any joint ventures though, could prove lovely, lucrative. And if there's a healthy, lovely relationship already here, there's not, you know, if you're not fighting, the new moon's not going to make you fight. The square is not going to make you fight. If everything is good, there's also room to kind of deepen through conversation and mutual respect and growth. And you know, that slow Leo thing isn't hurting nobody. Yeah, and the Jupiter Mercury opposition that we're seeing here in the 7th and 1st, that is going to be wanting to be liberated a little bit, and partner might really need to think about their belief systems. Again, it's gonna challenge what you need from others, and you might want a little bit more freedom in some ways. Doesn't mean we're married for 20 years, let's see other people, but what it can mean is I want to come home and not talk to anybody for an hour. I don't want to feel like I have to check in with you if I go someplace. There, you know, however that's going to work for the couples. Let's look at Cancer rising with this. Does anybody in the chat have any questions about any of the rising signs so far? Tomorrow's a great day for questions and chart readings. Beautiful. It's already set on there. Okay, so this is happening in your 6th house. I mean, you are, if you're Cancer rising, this could be beautiful for your productivity, to be honest. All that fiery energy, rethinking, restructuring, how, especially with Mercury there, it could be as simple as, I need to do 10 minutes on the walking pad, or because I'm not sleeping and then I'm not productive the next day because I didn't sleep well, but I'm not sleeping well because I'm not physically being as active. You could stumble, honestly, you could stumble onto a creator online someplace, or a friend saying, someone in a supportive role could help you to like redefine and refine how you're doing daily life to support your expansion, to support your health, to support better productivity, and also even, support new wellness if you've been, suffering from something chronic. You could absolutely stumble upon something that you want to go now explore and research, that could have long-term benefits. And it could be yoga. It could be something more esoteric for your wellness with Saturn and Pisces there. Also, new job opportunities could come up with the new moon in that sixth house. Jupiter and Mercury opposing each other in that sixth house. That's going to be like routine versus spirituality. Like your daily habits and responsibilities may feel at odds with what you feel like what you need for spiritual rest, especially if you've just been exhausted. Like if you've just been freaking exhausted lately, you could really feel like you need two different things to, that you physically need to be more active, and also you could just be so drained that you need spiritual rest. And so the opposition there, the tension is, always when we have the full moon, when we have anything in opposition, it's the new moon in Sagittarius, but I'm talking about any kind of opposition. It's about finding the sweet spot in the tension, right? It's a really, really powerful time also for healing old patterns, especially through spirituality. So it's interesting whether it's, routine versus spirituality, and Saturn is kind of like in Pisces there. This is where I love the Saturn in Pisces square actually the most, because it wants to give you boundaries in spiritual, esoteric, unconventional ways. Now with Mars hanging out in the second, we're going to be careful of spending, that money doesn't burn a hole in our pocket. But it can also energize your efforts to just kind of like do the things that you value. So like you could value having your house clean, but not have had energy to have your house clean. You might put your energy into things that make you feel more valuable and just that you value. Again, careful not to spend. Don't let them rope you. I'm going to tell you something that you probably already know, and you're going to be like, duh, Susie, we know that. Do you know how many companies up their prices right before Black Friday so it looks like they're giving away the house and they don't? Don't get sucked in. Don't overspend right now, especially if you're a Cancer rising, because Mars running through the second house can feel a little bit like money burning a hole in your pocket. Okay. But it will energize you to like tackle tasks and everything, and that can give you self-value, which is more important than things. And the Venus especially in Capricorn in the seventh house, not so shabby for Cancer rising. You could have, like, with an unexpected person, especially if you've been single for a really long time, with an unexpected person, you could find a long-term relationship in this energy. Might not be, it almost feels like missed connections, or it reads like missed connections. This may not play out fast and furious, but it could end up with some stability with Venus and Capricorn in the seventh there. And, Uranus is in the 11th. So that could be from a surprise meeting. It could be somebody that, like, your friends are like, oh, you know who you would love, but you guys never end up at the same place, same time. You always miss each other like ships in the night. And so there could be, a surprise meeting where you're not supposed to each be there and you end up there, or there's some meeting through technology or whatever. So that definitely is available. And with the sun, pulling in your sources of income, tons of opportunity. And the more you focus on wellness and balance around there, the more opportunities you may actually get, because when we attune ourselves and our own energy, quantum physics is absolutely a thing. So when that feels open, that can create more opportunities as well. Let's look at Leo rising. Okay, Leo risings. It's going to be happening in the 5th. Could not get that mouse to settle down there. It's going to be happening in your 5th house. Can y'all still see? I don't know if y'all got quiet. Sometimes I have to pop out the chat and pop it back in because I'm missing things. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anybody, because that keeps happening too lately. So having this in your 5th house, this could be an incredible burst of inspiration, creative projects, even new romantic connections. This is like FOMO energy a little bit, but not like sad that I FOMO, I missed out. Just kind of like, I want to feel alive. I want to feel satiated. Not only do I want to feel that, I'm just going to go do all of the things that make me feel so, that's excellent. Again, I don't mind. This new moon is kind of nice in that 5th house. It's just about navigating the other little bumpy parts to these transits. Exploring, expanding what makes you feel completely alive and unrestricted. The Jupiter-Mercury opposition here, create a push-pull between fun and obligations, it's creative expression versus the social life. You want to be home and be creative and make something come of that. Because again, we have Saturn squaring, we have expansion. So it's not just new moon in any sign. It's new moon in Sagittarius. It wants to expand, it wants to grow, and Saturn wants to give it kind of legs, So your Mercury is always going to be creative, right? So are you being supported by that, or are your ideas not going, are they going against the grain with the belief systems around you? This could be you want to do what you need to do to feel alive, and everybody in your environment is like, that's silly, that's stupid, how could you even want to do that? And so that is the tension that this opposition can kind of expose between your individual wants and the environment that maybe you have been aligned with thus far, but now you feel this need to change and this need to start something new. And again, Jupiter doesn't want to be held down. You'd also be revisiting old friendships. This is a great opportunity for self-expression here. And Saturn's going to demand the effort for that. Saturn is self-actualization. It's going to ask for the effort in your own self-expression. We love to see it. Your natal Uranus is conjunct this new moon. You should try to come by tomorrow when we're like looking at individual charts and I'm answering questions for sure. That's at noon tomorrow. I'm sure that one's going to go for hours because it's open to the public. And I'm offering chart reads. So, you know, there's possibilities for financial gain through creative endeavors, which it's so easy to be creative now, right? I mean, if you have an idea, you can go on Canva and Canva is going to support you making that into a design. I just did that in a session. We spent the session, they're having health challenges in their chart. They're having family challenges in their chart. And so, we saw the opportunity to be creative and make money from that. And because I have experience with graphics and all of that, and I do that for so many other people, I was like, let me just show you how easy it is, because it's less intimidating than everyone thinks, right? To like, and Printify and TikTok Shop and Canva, and they all work seamlessly. It's artistic and creative endeavors are more streamlined than ever. And so if any of that has scared you, don't let it. It could be a surprise romantic opportunities too. But honestly, with Venus in the 6th house, this is self-refinement in long term. This is healing stuff. This is healing health. This is understanding your own, who you are and how to master that, how to master the healing, how to master the challenges, how to feel kind of in charge and how to feel value in that. Remember before when I said I have a lot of squares in my charts, and I really appreciate who they help me become, because I like her. It took me a really long time to like me, which makes me really less influenceable by people who don't. They are absolutely welcome not to like me. I could be doing things that annoy the shit out of them legitimately, and I won't even take that from them. Somebody could find me completely annoying for a million reasons. They are welcome to that. That is within their right. But I'm not going to change. I am not going to, I'm always open for growth, and I don't want to hurt people ever, but I am not going to pretend to be someone I don't like to please anyone else. And that Venus in the 6th house can be very good for that. Uranus is kind of hanging out in the 10th house there. So again, you could get a surprise raise. Also, anything like if you're older or even if you're younger and you want to do something with your kids, like you want to make matching, parent-child t-shirts, or you want to do anything that you wear, like involves your children, whether you're working with an adult children or you're, of course, be online safe. Keep your kids. The only time you guys really ever see my youngest, you almost never see my oldest in pictures. With the middle one, obviously it's different because she's involved in the community and my business to some degree, but with the youngest one, I almost only ever post pictures of them when they are in a Halloween mask, right? So like we want to be careful and respectful, because if our children are very young, I believe it's up to children to decide how much they are being shared, because we live in a different world, but anything that you do with kids could become profitable. And also you could meet somebody in if you go do one of those like drinking and painting things, or you go do something creative in any way, there's opportunities to kind of meet somebody. And again, just make sure that you're being expressive. You are living life to the fullest and not being influenced to not because of a group's belief systems if they are no longer your shared belief systems. All right, let's move on to Virgo rising. I know this is long, but I don't know how to do anything but be, honestly, kind of like thorough. Yes, the squares. Good. So we are looking, let me move this up. There we go. So we have it here in the 4th house. New moon in the 4th house. You know, people, the moon likes being in the 4th house, but it's also very moony. It's very moody. It can be very insular. It can be very emotional. But Sagittarius doesn't want to be this. You know, I once had, back when I first started to practice, one of my most satisfying clients that first couple of years was somebody who was a Sagittarius sun in the 4th house. And the minute I said, like, I saw their chart and I said, oh, you're a Cancer masquerading as a Sagittarius. And she started to cry almost immediately. And she said, no one ever understands me. People have like expectations. And then when I go online and I read everything about Sagittarius, I don't align with any of it, and I feel like, what is wrong with me? What is broken? She questioned her parents about, like, they have to have something wrong about, but you know, you can't be wrong about the day, you know, because she just could not, and nowhere could she go, could she feel community, because it was so, and her moon was at the bottom of the chart. And if you're in membership and we're doing through the houses, we know the difference between the bottom, the night chart, and the day chart, right? When we have Sagittarius placements in the 4th house, this can feel like Sagittarius. This could feel like Cancerian energy masquerading, cosplaying as a Sagittarius. And so this is a very interesting, you know, it's focused on a fresh start. The fresh start is going to be your home life or your emotional well-being. You could be deep diving into epigenetics. You could be deep diving into your ancestry right now. That seems to be on theme for people in general. You also may feel inspired, especially with that new moon, to like completely redecorate your house. I have to tell you, I'm a Virgo rising, and I said yesterday to Emily, I kind of want to ditch, not the actual furniture, but I kind of want to like change out like the handles and on our furniture, and do the things like we already have to repurpose. But like I kind of want to take we had like fluffy covers on the couches. I kind of want to redo all that. I kind of want to redo my office. So you may want to renovate, and you may want to get out of the old way, like the old attachments that you had for decorating, or what the feeling is. And I definitely was more of like everything being kind of shabby chic, and you know, because I don't have somebody to answer to. Everything could be as floral as I want it, or as streamlined as I want it, or as dramatic as I want it. And I just want to shake things up because I want to shake things up. And I had just said that. And then, of course, I checked, of course, the new, you know, oh, that's right. Sagittarius in the 4th house. So, you know, and you could feel inspired to move or like look at what it would be. You could find yourself on Zillow. If you are Virgo rising right now, and also addressing family dynamics. And I'm going to tell you, that is very palpable for me, especially with this holiday. You know, the challenges that you may feel is that Saturn square is going to urge you to confront unresolved, any kind of emotional patterns. And this could be too if you have cyclical patterns with certain people in your family. Even if they don't seem like, you're going to want to explore them deeper. You're going to want to explore them through belief systems like that support why something has not kind of felt right, or if you've gone along to get along kind of thing. Get along to go along, whichever way that goes. Mars is in the 12th house. you could maybe not feel like your get up and go is anywhere close by. You could feel like your get up and go has left the building a little bit. Also, you could feel a little like you, you could possibly feel with Mars in the 12th house here in this transit in Leo, a little less trustful, or just feel like you're ready for somebody to kind of betray you, or you're just not feeling very trustful at this time, which, you know, Cancers are kind of private to begin with. So if they do trust somebody, then they're like, they're watching. They're watching to make sure you don't prove them wrong, that they actually gave you their trust. So that 4th house energy is going to act in it with Cancerian, you know, themes. So even though it's a Sagittarius new moon, but also the expansion of Sagittarius in the 4th house, that kind of that's our sanctuary, right? So expanding that and letting it liberate you a little bit is nice. As far as the Jupiter and Mercury opposition here. Now listen, again, it doesn't have to be that it's happening in the 4th house, so you're just going to pay attention to the houses that I'm saying. But, you know, this is home versus career. It's the classic home versus career. It is tensions between personal security and professional growth. You know, because you're going to want, Jupiter is in that 10th house. You're going to want to expand. You're going to want to grow. You might have opportunities and even missed opportunities to do things with your career that get you to goals and calling and vocation, and not just like money and prestige and ego, but like true, like, this is what I've been always wanting to do, and this is who I really want to do it with, and now this opportunity is coming, but I'm going to have to be less needed at home, less tethered at home, right? So family and career goals may feel at odds. And then also just examining, do those public ambitions, the reputation, right? Whether it's built on solid personal beliefs or whether it's like expectations. And you know, we're also going to want to find the sweet spot between work and home people and how we communicate with them. In other words, if you've got a work wife or a work husband and a real husband at home, and or a real wife at home, or a real partner at home, either way, you know, we're gonna maybe have some conversations about where the balance needs to be in that. Or are you more talkative or more lively at work, and then you get home and your social battery is out, and so you just shut down, and the people at home feel like, I know that, like, you know, you're doing so well at work and everybody loves you, and it's like, oh, you know, you have to go do all these events and everything, and we get home and you're just grouchy. It could be stuff. I know that sounds like reductionary, but it definitely could be stuff. Real estate also could create new, you know, looking at all the different kinds of ways there are. These earrings never make it a whole live. Looking at all the different ways through real estate loans, government loans, agriculture loans, that you can yield financial rewards long term. Maybe not where you live so much, but like real estate based financial long term. But slow and not right away. We're not doing anything quick. And you know, if you're feeling destabilized by Uranus in you know, the 10th or the 9th, it could be your partner that or your kids that make you feel a little bit more stabilized, to be honest. You know, Saturn is gonna create some stabilization in your partnerships, and whether that's romantic or not. But that is great. Also, you know, this could work out to be like support from family, where or who you see as family. All right, let's look at Libra rising. Okay, happening in your third. Let's just make sure everything that's not just going away. And I'm sitting here reading my notes. Okay. Pretty Libra risings. Never met a Libra rising that wasn't just naturally pleasant to look at. They usually have very sweet eyes. So this is happening in your third house, Libra risings. You know, this is such an interesting, because if you're Libra rising, then your chart is ruled by Venus. We will get to that. This is a focus on, the focus of communication is the new ideas, the networking, the learning opportunities, like, but probably local, probably like in your job, probably in your community, probably like, you know, through your laptop. That doesn't require you to change job, change a whole lot about your life, but it's going to expand and network. And you may feel like you want to have really deep conversations with siblings. And again, this could be around healing and belief systems, and you know, or anyone that you see as siblings, you know, neighbors, really old friends, cousins, that kind of thing. And you know, of course, we're gonna have miscommunications because Mercury in retrograde. But I will focus on that in a second. The opposite, like Mars in the 11th house, is really nice here. There could be intense interactions with people that you see as community, friends, online communities. There could be aggression, like, of course, too. So if you're a Libra rising and you don't want to have, you're not about that life and you don't want to have that argument, you may be steering clear lately of online spaces, and only where you feel safe. But there could be where you do feel safe, you could really kind of benefit from those, and even some, you know, financial or career opportunities could arise from that. Also, if you put yourself in the position, right, if you make sure that you're in safe spaces, you could kind of dip your toe in the water of really being 10 toes down in your own self-expression. Like, having that community where you can really be yourself is very beneficial, and you might be more aware of the communities that you can do that and the communities that you can't anymore. You know, and Venus is in the 4th house, and Taurus is in the 8th. Now, Taurus, Uranus in the 8th house. I'm not gonna lie, that's not always so much fun. But you could have things that you could sell in your home that you didn't realize. You could put things online. You know, I'm gonna say you could also have like unexpected lining up with somebody that you didn't expect. Whether that's through intimacy, physical intimacy, or just talking or conversation. There could be surprise sexual chemistry and intimacy, maybe where there shouldn't be, so just careful of that. You know, any opportunity to monetize or write, teaching, these are all the opportunities ripe for that. And again, it may be like you hear about something and or you heard about something in the beginning of the year. I keep saying, and I've been saying this to a lot of people the last 6 months, it's been feeling collectively, not just individual, they happening in individual readings, but so many individual readings. And I keep feeling the energy of like someone else gets hired for something you want and that person doesn't work out, and then the opportunity arises again, like missed opportunities. So things like that could happen, which really makes sense in a school setting, because you would have thought by December everything is, you know, done, everybody's got their position, but things could still kind of like move a little bit around job opportunities, but certainly if you can monetize your writing, poetry, lyric writing, any of that, and again, sparks could fly where you're having really deep, intimate conversation, intellectual. This gives me like sapiosexual vibes, where it's unexpected, and you know, just make sure everybody knows what's going on, because the 8th house doesn't really want to make sure everybody knows what's going on, but you know, just it'll feel very attractive. But you'll want to kind of keep it in your sanctuary. If we're looking specifically at the Jupiter and Mercury tension, third to 9th here, you know, it's learning and communication is like, how do we learn and then do we communicate differently? This is people that I love, this community. If you can hear my voice, I promise I love you, now you love you. Careful not to overstimulate yourself. Mental overload, trying to take on too many tasks with this, being pulled between like local stuff and wanting to focus there, but you really want to like travel or escape, kind of. And also careful that you don't get pulled out of your own beliefs by getting talked out of them because of other people's beliefs here. And you might end up revisiting like old projects about like learning, like things that you kind of, you know, maybe you were going to learn how to knit, you put it on the side, that comes back up. And refining your communication style and your philosophical outlook. Like you might just binge on education so that you can communicate as eloquently, wasn't that irony for you, as you actually feel, you know? Yeah. Let's look at, okay, let's look at Scorpio. Okay. There we are. So Scorpio new moon is happening in that 2nd house. Winner, chicken dinner on that aspect. And Scorpio rising, if any rising sign deserves a like good old winner, chicken dinner, I might be a little biased because I love Scorpio energy. It's Pluto on my ascendant. It just is. And it's also because I'm a Cancer, and also because my moon is ruled by Mars and they're ruled by Mars. There's just a lot of, it just makes it so easy for me. And also one of my biggest traumas, one of my earliest traumas, one of my most deep traumas was perpetrated by a Scorpio. And I'm only saying that out loud because if you are ever listening to a professional, ethical astrologer and they are shit talking one sign because they had a personal experience with them, that is not ethical, nor is it really professional. This is supposed to be objective, and we're not supposed to. So I don't know why that just came up, but universe just brought that moment. This moment was brought to you by universe. To say that out, that's a red flag. I've been talking about like red flags on TikTok as far as like readings. Somebody ever tells you you have to claim something, fuck that. That's a red flag. Yeah, people talking about in spiritual hierarchy. I always talk about that. Red flag. There's a lot. So, somebody saying they're a guru or they're the only ones, or they're talking about karma, being like you can be somebody else's karma or they're yours. That's conflating karma with justice. Red flag. Just so we have that out of the way. Okay, that hit on so many things happening now. All right, Scorpio risings. I know I got a bunch of you in here. So hold on one second. There we go. I lost my notes. So obviously you're going to have financial, like focus on financial growth, reassessment of personal values, right? Earning and saving. Especially with Mercury in retrograde, we're not signing contracts. We're rethinking about signing contracts that we were going to sign if we thought that was going to be a source of income. We want to make sure the beliefs line up. All right, it just is what it is. It's palpable right now that we're very aware that sometimes our beliefs do not line up with other people. And these are people, if the beliefs are that different, then which there's such polarization right now, right? We don't want to get into money situations with people that we have polarizing, like diametrically opposed belief systems. Scorpios. Now listen, you're Scorpio rising, so you don't trust anybody anyway. On a general level, you love the humans, right? All for advocating for the humans. On a personal level, they're gonna have to earn it. So this makes me feel like that's a little safety net for this transit for you in the second house. But you know, new opportunities to earn are absolutely there for you. And new opportunities to save. Like, do you need the envelope method? Not everybody does. Scorpio's a pretty decent money sign, you know? But you could have other things that make you disorganized. Do you want to do, like I said, do you want to do like the envelope organization to help you save? Like that is, do you want to have one of those apps that helps you save and put everything in, you know, every single dime that comes in digitally goes then digitally into a digital envelope. You know, this could be really excellent for that too. You're transforming how income comes in and how you save it and what you value, quite frankly. And that Mars in Leo is in the 10th house. Hello. We like this. This is ambitious. This is slow. This is a really long-term, slow opportunity for you to create a new reputation for yourself at work, to show off, to be motivated, to be forward-thinking, to be forward-moving, to take the initiative, and show off your skill sets. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I am right now sitting here, right, and talking to you about my skill set. In a weird way, this is showing off. I decided to go on YouTube. I'm not just having private conversations with clients. I could do that, and many astrologers do that, and they are amazing. They are awesome, amazing, wonderful astrologers. There's shit in my chart that makes me go right online and be like, here's what I can do. Let me use it to help you, right? But it's still on some level, like, so that Mars and Leo does not mean like, hey, everybody, come look at me. It's not, you know, Ron Burgundy getting ready for the 5 o'clock news. Hey, everybody, come look at me. This could be rightfully having a long-term opportunity to like change your status at work. And you know, Saturn's square here is you know, it's landing either in the fourth or the fifth house, depending on your houses. But that, you know, that square is going to prompt discipline in your budgeting, which is again really going to help. You're transforming how you save, how you spend, and how the money comes in, and reevaluating your resources. Mercury Jupiter may create like tension between like what I want to do, what I long term would like to invest in, and what I have to fucking pay to keep on right this second. You know, that is what it is. The trine between Venus in the third, and Uranus in the seventh. I'm gonna tell you, if there's ever a friend you wanted to like write a book, do a podcast with, there could be surprise money in there that you don't think that you could have. Hey Gibbs. Podcast, writing, books, little ebooks, video series, doing a YouTube channel together, with a partner, and someone maybe you didn't expect, but there could be money in there. There's something about your ideas that you absolutely couldn't monetize right now, and you probably didn't expect it. I just saw, because you know me, I'm chronically online finding resources so that I can be as informed as possible, because that is my job with for my clients. There are sites that you can go on and offer to be a guest on other people's podcasts where they're starting out podcasts and they need guests. You know, there are ways to kind of get your feet wet in that, but I mean, surprise, surprise, because that's what Uranus does. Creative ways to boost income too. Again, investments, same way that it was for Taurus. Investments in education can pay off, and some people with Aries rising, and romantic partnerships could deepen as long as the values are shared. If they're not, then it could liberate from you. You know, and the Mercury Jupiter opposition here is just going to bring, you know, personal values versus like what the shared values are, personal resources versus the shared resources, questions around financial independence or codependence. You know, Jupiter retrograde is going to ask you to rethink your shared commitments or debts, same as Taurus, while Mercury is going to want you to clarify what your priorities are. And again, I think that's completely transforming for you here, Scorpio rising. And how you're, you know, we're all looking at like, how do we feel about humanitarian beliefs and spiritual beliefs? And those are probably aligning. And there are things going on right now globally that make us either want to double down one way or the other. And some people are exploring what they thought, right? And feeling like, well, I don't align with this, but I do align with that, right? So there's a lot of that kind of going on, and you could experience that too. And that could be between like material and really what you're feeling, and you know, the occult, like what you're psychically feeling rather than like materially desiring. Okay, Sagittarius. Sagittarius rising. This is, of course, happening in your first house. Boom. You all can see that. I'm triple checking every single time because of Mercury retrograde. Yay, first house. First house. Okay. We're having the first house transit. And then, of course, we have reinvention. It's first house, right? Self-image or life direction, really, even because it's Sagittarius and it's beliefs and it's Jupiter. You may feel like you want to travel, change. You know, I'm going to tell you with Venus, Uranus in the second house, whereas Uranus in the sixth, you may want to change things about your appearance. Here, if you're responsible for the changes, that's one thing. If you're trying to explain and communicate to somebody else about what you want them to do to create the desired effect of what you want your appearance to be, I might wait till Mercury retrograde is over for that. That makes sense? If you're going to do something yourself, that's one thing. If you're relying on somebody else, like a color or haircut or microblading your brows or whatever it could be, you know, don't defer. No man wants to end up like Steve Carell in The 40-Year-Old Virgin, where it looks like there's a mantle lantern, I think, as Paul Rudd said, from his waxing. You know, so you just want to make sure you're being either crystal clear, and whether it's annoying or not, you're triple making sure that they're going to say back to you what, you know, what we're all agreeing on, or just wait until Mercury is out of retrograde. But this is just, again, very much like kind of like that fifth house where we're going to want to live life. Like, we're going to really want to satiate. We're going to want to also make sure that people understand that we are a person of the world, that we are not small-minded. You may feel urged to like embrace like any new opportunity, any travel. A little bit of that might be to make sure everybody else knows that you are not stuck in a hole, right? You don't want to be overly defined. The Mars in the 8th house here, it's intense. It's very sexual. You could heal stuff around that. You could also be spending a lot of time in self-service, which is totally fine and healthy. And you should, I'm going to tell you, if Mars is stationing in Leo and running through your 8th house right now, Sagittarius risings, first of all, this is your show. This is your whole thing, right? This is your new moon. This is your sign. This is your Jupiter rising anyway, right? If you have Sag rising, Jupiter's running your chart ruler. I would take the opportunity for alone time. I've said this again and again. 2 of the best times to manifest is in your car with the music blaring out to that one song that you know every single word for, and you're not thinking about anything bad. And in between verses, I would be yelling how much money I want, how much raise I want, whatever. I would be in between that because there is nothing to redirect your thoughts to say you can't have that. You're too happy. Your whole energetic levels, the molecules in your body, right? That's the other good time to manifest is that moment when you have success. You know, when we have takeoff and you have that feeling going through your entire body instead of yelling out somebody's name, because quite frankly, that's like Beetlejuice. They'll end up in your DMs. Yell out $10 million, yell out $10,000, yell out new car, yell out new job, yell out new house, whatever it is. That's what you want to be bringing in. That's SEGGSMAGIK. I would totally be using that on Saturday night into Sunday morning. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a real thing. Quantum physics. Okay. You know, Venus in the second house too is not so shabby either. And we're going to be pulling money from Saturn. So, with that firmly in your third house. There's so much authority. There's so much, your thoughts are of value and even may be able to be monetized. Your ideas. There is long-term sustenance here, and long-term value for you in this new moon, Sagittarius. Sometimes the sign, the rising sign of the astrological event or lunation doesn't have everything kind of play out this nicely. This is kind of nice for Sag rising. You know, unexpected financial or aesthetic upgrades that align with your evolving values. You know, everything is like, don't do anything that doesn't really align. If you see it and you think it looks cute on somebody else, but that doesn't really feel like you, then don't do it just because it looks fantastic on somebody else. If somebody else is making money in a way that like does not feel like this represents me to the core, you might not do as well with it. I'm just being honest. New personal ventures like social connections can definitely help you increase income, and confidence is gonna be what brings in any kind of new romance, and also improve your existing, like standing on 10 toes, standing on business, could actually just really help because Mercury is ruling your 7th house right now. So there's going to be more success in what it stays unsaid and what just gets put into action, quite frankly, because words may not really represent what you want, who you are, or them. You're better off showing up confidently, like in a positive way towards your partner if there's something there to mend. You know, self-identity versus partnerships with Jupiter, Mercury. You could feel torn between speaking your truth and understanding what your partner wants. And again, miscommunications are obviously likely. And I guess with Mercury in retrograde in that first house, you may be the one who does not come off the way represented the way that you most like. So showing up in action, confidently, in deeds, acts of service instead of acts out of your mouth, may be better for you. And reflect on whether your relationship is supporting your evolving beliefs, because what this is, I promise you, your beliefs are evolving right now. And you know, that's going to be the tension. Let's look at Capricorn rising. You're gonna have this in your 12th house. Let's just get everybody set here. We're almost done, kids. I have to get this time stamped. If anybody's been taking timestamps, I love you. You can have a kidney. You can move in. You can have my room, because I did not ask for that before. Also, I will cook for you. You think I'm exaggerating, but if not, give me a minute to get timestamps on this, because that takes a minute when I go on and on and on. We'll take full accountability. Okay. This new moon in your 12th house, absolutely. Focus for deep reflection, inner work, letting go of the past is your best friend here, because that Jupiter wants to expand. And 12th house can represent like the things that we kind of get stuck in sometimes in our past or in our mental space, right? You'll have my kidneys then. Would you like it with a glass of Chianti? Because you can have it. I love you so much if you took timestamps. Listen, I'm not a drinker. My kidneys will go to the. You can have one. I'm positive they're in tip-top shape. Excellent. 10 out of 10. Okay. The thing is that I do just appreciate and love Juan so much, and if he needed a kidney, I would. That's not her. It's not hyperbole, like at all. Okay, Prosecco and my kidney. You've got it. Although if I give you a nice fresh kidney, you may not want to drink Prosecco and ruin it. Or that's the liver, really. But all of my innards, like a fresh young chicken, it's all good. Uh, I know, because that's why I'm saying, like, you can have anything you want, because I should have said it in the beginning, and I did not. Okay, so back to the 12th house. Know thyself, right? I have flaws. I try not to make denial one of them. This is a really good opportunity for healing, especially healing old beliefs that held you back or were social constructs. Or, if you're Capricorn rising, you have a 12th house, you're probably already very intuitive, but also religious, spiritual, and just belief systems that have been passed on are probably were a big theme growing up. Again, could have felt like almost like a third parent, if you will. The belief systems were so ever present, like it ruled everything. And so deconstructing in this time would have been great. Hey DeRay, hey Tina. Deconstructing in this energy is fantastic. Mars in the 7th, so could be fighting, could be doing the other thing with a partner. It's intense, but it's also transformative, and you could be starting up a business partnership with somebody too that you're really focusing on the details, and somebody is concentrating on all that energy that they're going to put into a new partnership, especially if it's going to yield money, which Mars definitely can. It's opportunities, it's initiative, motivation, impetus. Could there be aggression in partnerships too? Yeah. Could things get even litigious a little bit? If it does, it'll be like a surprise you've been served kind of thing, and I don't think it'll be a huge big thing. It'll be something small, and it'll be more for the bite of it. And of course you shouldn't expect that if there's nothing like that going on. I'm just saying if there's anything litigious going on, it could be more bark than bite. It'll be on the sneaky link kind of thing. And Saturn is in that 2nd house here. So whatever the opportunities, listen, if you've been thinking about going into anything esoteric, anything spiritual, reading cards, reading astrology, doing Reiki, any of that, Saturn is going to want to hold you down and give it some legs in that 2nd house. It's going to want to give you boundaries. I know, Sagittarius, you don't want a boundary. I get it. You're all about expansion, so like boundaries, not your thing. But if you can learn to work together with this challenging square, financially, very nice. Not so shabby for Cap rising. And Cap rising will appreciate some financial stability, right? Also, financial healing and emotional healing becomes possible. I think I've talked about this once before, but Lori Rivers has a course called Healing the Money Wound. It's very profound. Even as an astrologer, like the first day of the class, it's one of her advanced classes. I took it the first time like a year ago, I want to say. But the first day, there was a light bulb, and I'm an astrologer. For some of my financial cycles that have not been really great for me, that were tied to kind of healing that money wound. And so there's an opportunity there for this too. If you're Capricorn rising and you're like, I'm a Capricorn rising, why do I have a money wound? And if love comes in, it'll be so subtle at first, maybe a little unexpected, but there's definitely room for that. And discipline in spiritual practices. So like if you're like once in a blue moon see a video and like, oh yeah, I'll meditate, this might be where you get into the place where you're gonna genuinely do that, every day. So that, again, we're having that routine versus spirituality here, with the 6th, 12th house access. Yeah, I'm gonna say this. There's lots of missed opportunity for like physical ways, like yoga or Reiki or tuning bowls, things that physically kind of you feel uh, through working on. Hey, Vanessa. Um, uh, working on spiritual things that kind of show up physically, that resonate physically. But also, uh, you could feel like you're trying to communicate, like you're not getting clear signs from spirit, like your cards aren't as clear, or other people are like getting full on messages and you're like, I kind of like have a feeling. So this would not be a time to I would give yourself grace if you are trying to get clear messages from spirit right now. You could either open it up more, or you could understand what you weren't understanding before, or it could just feel kind of a little jumbled. And you might do better on the things that physically resonate right now. Journaling is always going to be great here. And if you feel a little isolated, if you feel a little like you want to keep this to yourself for a while, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not going through a horrible depression. That just is what this transit will feel like. It'll feel like this is between me and spirit. And that is fine. Let's look at Aquarius. Is it dawning of the age of Aquarius? I'm not saying that, but that just even saying that word makes me think of that song. Okay. Listen, Aquarius rising, this happened in your 11th house, and if there's something I love, it's a new moon in the 11th house. How about a new moon in 11th house in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter? Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Let's look at it. So you all have the visuals again. I want to double check. There we go. Here we have it in the 11th house. Again, this is the Sagittarius like random rising chart, and this is the Sagittarius moon on the outer wheel. Okay. You should not be yelling at me. You are full on plugged in. Stop yelling at me. Okay. I love an 11th house new moon. Let's just, it's always very nice. New connections, community connections, focused communication with community, and really exploring your beliefs and really exploring whether community is supporting you or not. And is it aligned with who you want to be going forward? I cannot tell you. Okay, again, I want to flash back to when I said Jupiter and the 9th house kind of rules marketing. So when you have this new moon in the 11th house, your networking opportunities are everywhere. Maybe to the point you don't even realize, but I promise you they are everywhere. They abound, if you will. Mars, probably in the 6th house. I don't know why the houses are so weird on this chart, but Mars would be in your 6th house typically here. And I gotta say, you want to be careful of inflammation on a personal level, especially like be heart healthy. Like be eating your oatmeal, be taking your turmeric and curcumin, be taking a 5-minute walk every day. Do heart healthy things so you're not having inflammation, especially around your heart. Aquarius rising, or anyone that is experiencing Mars in Leo in their 6th house right now. But also there can be opportunities at work, even on a small level, even like maybe if it's not like your dream job, there's ways to like level up by just being steady, but also you could, unbeknownst to you, be doing something that feels mundane and ends up giving you a leg up in career, vocation, calling, reputation, all of it. Venus is in the 12th house, so we do have to with the frenemy thing, because the Uranus is trine in the 4th. So like this could be lovely. This could be valuing your spiritual life. This could be spiritual support from family. And it also could be not getting supported, especially from people who feel like family or should act like family. So just, you're going to keep an eye out for the frenemies. I know you're just going to be like, it is what it is. Now listen, if a frenemy happens upon an Aquarius and they clock you, they got it, they understand it, they see it. Do not expect some big discussion. You will not be able to plead your case. The Aquarius will be done with you, and that will be on you. And, you know, they're not about the drama. They're not going to do the back and forth. You're going to be done. And that's what you get if you're, stabbing an Aquarius in the back. So, I don't think there's anybody like that listening to this, because just energy collective wise. But I wouldn't advise it to somebody else, either. Okay. Financial support, you're pulling money through Saturn. And that's you. This is Saturn's running through your first house. The square is going to push you to reevaluate your social commitments, but also reevaluate how you show up, and are your social commitments pulling from like everything you could be, every way that you could self-actualize. So a lot of, like I said, this new moon is like, I don't know how I would make this any shorter, because there are so many layers going on, and there's a lot of question marks, and everything doesn't look like it seems, and it doesn't feel like it looks, and it might not communicate the way it feels. Lots of question marks. Romantic sparks may fly also in community settings. There's a lot of 11th house energy here, and the trines too are supporting that 11th house. I'm going to say that this is going to like test the boundaries, the Jupiter-Mercury opposition between your personal desires and your group dynamics, right? Jupiter is there in your creativity. Also, you could have acclimated to a group and been like, whatever about it, right? And like really just not have had any judgment on anybody. And now you have kids, and you think like, do I want that for my children? Do I want them to grow in like acclimated and whatever to that? No. So there could be separation there too. 7th house being ruled by the sun, so that's in the 11th house. Make sure your friends aren't getting in the way of your personal relationships, or your social life should be. Again, we want aligned beliefs here. If what you want to be doing socially is not aligning at all with your partner, you may get some conflict there. Finally, but never least, we have Pisces rising, and this is happening in your 10th house. Well. Career opportunities abound. And, that missed opportunity is in the 4th house. Like, what can you restructure? I'm not even there yet. I'm so excited about the Pisces rising, though. There we go. I forget I think that it's late, and then I remember it's like 6:30 in California. So you guys are probably just all settling in from home. Fresh start in your reputation, in your public life, in career goals. You could be more ready to like show off and shine than you think you are. Letting people see you for like all you're capable of and not being nervous about it would be amazing. I could not wish something more on a Pisces rising. You know, and Mars is gonna support bold, creative moves. You missed your chance on Susie's kidneys. Can't they take a piece of, can't we like take a piece of kidney and have it regrowth? I digress. Sorry, people that are listening to this and have no idea what's going on in the chat. Always watch it with the chat replay because it'll explain so much. Yeah, Pisces risings. This is just a great time for you. And missed opportunities, which means like, you know, missed opportunity to work from home, or a missed opportunity to like rearrange home stuff so that work can flourish and you're not being tethered by stuff at home, especially if the beliefs aren't aligning. Like, you know, if you're taking care of everybody and nobody's allowing you, that is, you know, put you in a constricted place where you can't expand at work. I'm telling you, you're going to want to liberate from that, and you're going to want to be able to shine, and you're going to want to be happy about it, and you're going to want to expand. And if people at home are holding you back, you know, they might have some thinking to do, Lucy. I'm sorry, I'm old. They might have an unexpected conversation from you. Now, I would hope that Pisces rising, you have a good supportive friend, one of those like, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, but we're gonna have to go tell those people they cannot stand in the way of your career and your life and your satiation and your soul's goals. Or I hope you have that friend holding your hand in way of some other placement in your chart. If you don't, call me. I will talk you into talking up for yourself, speaking up for yourself. You know, Venus 2 here, 11th house. There could be more public recognition. There could be like more support from community. I think that you don't understand how much support and how ready you are in this for Pisces rising. You're gonna have to take responsibility for your ambitions. This is gonna be like the don't talk about it, be about it kind of transit for you. And if you lean into your beliefs instead of overthinking or overwhelming, you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. Professional relationships, you could have like find like love at work a little bit. And if you have new career opportunities, take them and then figure it out later. I'm telling you, and it's going to boost your income. You know, the opposition creates conflict between the public image and the private beliefs. Like, are you worried that people are going to think you're a bad mom because all of a sudden now you're doing 2 jobs instead of 1? Like, has there been some kind of conflict there before where people had opinions or it affected your reputation, which we shouldn't really be that worried about when it's other people creating a reputation that's meant to hold us back. But you know, you're going to have that kind of possible personal struggle with this opposition. You're taking responsibility for your ambitions, and I'm sure you're taking responsibility. Pisces is always taking responsibility for their family. The way that you love is so expansive. Just be aware of who you're including in that family. Like, if it's not kids, Adele has a saying, I'll let you look it up. If you're not feeding me, right? Or paying me, or something else me, and you didn't come out of me, then we don't have to have a conversation about what I'm doing next to satiate my soul. Venus trine Uranus, you know, while there could be support in the 11th house, there could be unexpected stuff around siblings, or like old friends who either need money or, you know, with Uranus there in Taurus, it could feel like some of your stability was, you have like public support, but not support where you should have it, or some of your stability was kind of like rocked. And again, this is why redefining what that F word family, who should be included in that, you know, your circle should get smaller, because your Pisces rising, you're also ruled by Jupiter. So the way you love is kind of sometimes so expansive that maybe it could do with some conditions instead of the unconditional. She says ... Okay, jump scare. I'm back. All right, well, this has been wonderful. Whoever wants the kidney can send me the timestamps. Gosh, I hope you're not just tuning in right at this moment, because you could be like, that's the scary thing to say, weird lady. But it's not even just money, it's just stability. Like, how is the stability tied somewhere? Maybe it shouldn't be. I'm going to be back tomorrow at noon. If you cannot make it at all tomorrow, and I will probably be on here, this was almost 3 hours because there's just a lot to cover, especially because that Jupiter, Mercury retrograde, they're going to meet now and they're going to meet again when they're direct. But tomorrow I'm sure I will be here for hours. I will do chart reads. Obviously, if you are nerd or gratitude level, that's just a given. You get your chart read. But I will be able to answer any questions. If you cannot make it, there are, I love you, Juan, thank you. There are community posts on the community page. It's not on the membership page, it's on the community page. If you have a question, and you want to ask me, there is a post about tomorrow's live, and it says right on the image on that community post, the questions and chart reads. Put your questions there, and then I have one place I can reference them. I respectfully ask, please don't leave them in comments on other videos. Please don't try to email me. Please don't, because that's too many places for me to be doing helter-skelter, especially during a live stream when there's already so much going on and there's people in the chat. So if you cannot make it, but you do have a burning question, please leave it for under that post, specifically the one about tomorrow's live. And if you have comments about tonight's live, you can leave them under the post about tonight's live. I love you, know you love you. And I will see all of you beautiful people here tomorrow. And I hope that you continue to be able to enjoy any time off. And don't forget self-love, besides how much you're giving, cooking, or doing anything else to anyone else. Please. All right.